I'm standing in the doorway of my childhood bedroom with 2 suitcases at my feet when my mother grabs my arm hard enough to leave marks. "You can't just leave," she hisses. "What about your brother? What about this family?" I look at her fingers digging into my skin, then at my father sitting motionless on the couch, then at Ryan sprawled across the living room recliner with his headphones on, completely oblivious to the fact that his entire world is about to collapse. "Watch me," I say, and I pull my arm free. That was 6 weeks ago. And yesterday, my mother called me 17 times. My father left 9 voicemails. Even Ryan, who hasn't voluntarily spoken to me in 3 years, sent a text that just said please come back. Because everything fell apart. And I mean everything. I never thought I'd be telling this story. Not because I'm ashamed, though there's some of that buried deep. Not because I'm scared of what people will think, though that's there too. But because for 29 years, I convinced myself that staying silent was the same as keeping the peace. That carrying the weight was the same as being strong. That sacrificing myself meant I was being a good daughter, a good sister, a good person. I was wrong about all of it. My name is Sarah. I'm 29 years old, and until 6 weeks ago, I lived in my childhood home with my parents and my 32-year-old brother Ryan. I had lived there my entire life except for 2 years of community college that I completed while still sleeping in my old bedroom with the faded wallpaper and the broken closet door that never got fixed. Ryan had also lived there his entire life. But unlike me, he'd never even pretended to leave. Never tried college. Never held a job for more than 3 months. Never paid rent. Never contributed to groceries. Never cleaned. Never cooked. Never took responsibility for a single thing in his entire adult life. And everyone just accepted it. Not just accepted it. Enabled it. Defended it. Protected it. While I worked full-time as an administrative assistant at a medical clinic, came home and cooked dinner for 4 people, did the grocery shopping every week, paid $300 a month in rent to my parents despite making barely enough to save anything, cleaned the common areas because no one else would, and listened to my mother complain about how hard her life was. Ryan played video games. That was his contribution. Playing video games in the basement until 3 in the morning, sleeping until 2 in the afternoon, eating whatever I'd prepared without a thank you, leaving his dishes wherever he finished with them, and occasionally emerging to ask our parents for money. Which they gave him. Every single time. "He's going through a tough time," my mother would say when I asked why he didn't have to pay rent. "He's struggling with depression," she'd explain when I pointed out that he'd been fired from another job. "He's sensitive," she'd whisper when I suggested maybe he should contribute to the household in some way. And when I pushed back, when I said that maybe coddling him was making things worse, when I suggested that at 32 he should be capable of basic adult responsibilities, I became the problem. "Why are you so hard on your brother?" my father would ask. "Can't you be more understanding?" my mother would plead. "You've always been the strong one," they'd both say, as if that was a compliment and not a life sentence. The strong one. The responsible one. The one who had her life together. Which apparently meant the one who didn't need support, didn't deserve consideration, and didn't matter as much. I'm standing at the kitchen sink washing dishes from a dinner I cooked that Ryan didn't even come upstairs to eat when my mother walks in and says, "I need you to cover Ryan's car insurance this month." I don't turn around. I keep scrubbing the pot with burned rice stuck to the bottom because Ryan took leftovers, microwaved them on high for 10 minutes, and left the destruction for me to find. Why would I do that? Because he's short on money and the payment is due tomorrow. He's always short on money. That's what happens when you don't have a job. He had that interview last week. He's waiting to hear back. He's been waiting to hear back from interviews for 10 years, Mom. At some point, we have to acknowledge that he's not actually trying. She's quiet for a moment. I can feel her offense radiating across the kitchen. That's a cruel thing to say about your brother. Is it cruel? Or is it true? Sarah, I don't understand why you've become so harsh. You used to be such a sweet girl. I finally turn around. My hands are still wet and soapy. I'm not harsh. I'm tired. There's a difference. Tired of what? You have a good job, a nice room, a family who loves you. I have a job that barely pays my bills, a room I pay rent for in a house where I'm also the maid and the cook, and a family that loves me as long as I keep making everyone else's life easier. Her face does this thing where it crumples and hardens at the same time. Hurt and anger fighting for dominance. How can you say that? After everything we've done for you? What have you done for me, Mom? Specifically. What have you actually done for me in the past 10 years? We gave you a place to live. I pay for that place. $300 a month, which I know is below market rate, but it's not nothing. And I also buy most of the groceries and cook most of the meals and clean most of the house. So what I actually have is a landlord situation where I'm also the household staff. You're being ridiculous. Am I? Does Ryan pay rent? That's different. How is it different? Because he can't afford it. Neither can I, actually. I'm 29 years old and I have $800 in savings. Do you know why? Because between rent and groceries and gas and my car payment and insurance and the student loans from the college degree I got so I could get a job that still doesn't pay enough to move out, I have nothing left. But somehow I'm supposed to also cover Ryan's car insurance? It's just this 1 month. It's never just 1 month, Mom. It's always one more month, one more payment, one more exception. And it's never for me. It's always for Ryan. Because Ryan needs help. And I don't? She doesn't answer that. Just looks at me with this expression of disappointment that I've seen my entire life whenever I failed to be convenient. I'm not covering his insurance, I say quietly. If he needs car insurance, he should get a job and pay for it himself. What if he loses his car? Then he loses his car. And maybe that will finally motivate him to take one of the hundreds of jobs he's turned down because they're beneath him. You're being selfish. And there it is. The word that's been lurking under every conversation we've had about Ryan for the past decade. Selfish. Because expecting a 32-year-old man to pay for his own car insurance is selfish. Because not wanting to bankroll my brother's extended adolescence is selfish. Because having boundaries is selfish. Okay, I say. I'm selfish. I can live with that. I turn back to the dishes. Behind me, my mother makes a noise of frustration and leaves the kitchen. I hear her go down the hall to my father's office. Hear their muffled voices. Hear my name said multiple times with varying degrees of exasperation. And something in me just breaks. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just a quiet snap somewhere deep inside where I've been holding everything together. I finish the dishes. I dry my hands. I go to my room and close the door and sit on my bed in the dark. And I think about what my life would look like if I wasn't here. Not in a dark way. Not like that. But genuinely, practically, what would this family do if I left? Who would cook dinner? Who would buy groceries? Who would clean the kitchen and the bathrooms and vacuum the living room? Who would remember to pay the utilities and schedule the HVAC maintenance and take the cars for oil changes? My mother worked part-time at a gift shop and spent most of her energy managing Ryan's feelings. My father worked full-time as an accountant and spent most of his non-working hours avoiding conflict. Ryan didn't work at all and spent most of his time in a digital world where he was important and capable and respected. I was the one holding everything together. And they didn't even see it. Worse, they resented me for not doing more. I pull out my phone and start searching for apartments. Just looking. Just seeing what's out there. What's possible. Studio apartments in my area start at about $900 a month. More than I'm paying now, but not impossibly more. If I cut back on groceries since I'd only be feeding myself, if I stopped covering random expenses for Ryan, if I actually just took care of myself, I could do it. I could actually leave. The thought is terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. I spend 3 hours that night looking at apartments, calculating budgets, imagining a life where I come home to my own space and there are no dishes in the sink that aren't mine and no one asks me to sacrifice for someone who wouldn't do the same for me. By midnight, I filled out 2 rental applications. By the end of the week, I have an apartment. It's small. It's not in a great neighborhood. The carpet is old and there's a weird smell in the bathroom that the landlord promises will go away after the first cleaning. But it's mine. Move-in date is 3 weeks away. Which gives me 3 weeks to figure out how to tell my family I'm leaving. I decide not to tell them. Not out of cowardice, though I'm sure that's what they'll say. But because I know exactly what will happen if I give them advance notice. My mother will cry. My father will guilt trip. Ryan will either ignore it entirely or blow up, depending on how it affects him. And they'll all spend 3 weeks trying to convince me to stay. Trying to convince me that I'm being selfish, dramatic, ungrateful, cruel. And part of me, the part that's been trained since childhood to put everyone else first, might listen. So I don't tell them. I start moving things slowly. A box here, a bag there. Things they won't notice missing. Old books, off-season clothes, random items from the back of my closet. I take them to the new apartment on my lunch breaks and after work, slowly transferring my life one piece at a time. 3 weeks pass in a blur of secret preparation. I've never been good at deception, and the stress of it makes me snappy and distant. My mother asks multiple times if I'm okay. I say I'm fine. She doesn't push. Why would she? As long as dinner is on the table and the house is clean, what else matters? The day before my official move-out date, I pack everything else. I take a sick day from work, wait until everyone is out of the house, and spend 8 hours boxing up the remnants of my life in that room. My childhood books. My high school yearbooks. My collection of coffee mugs. My clothes, my shoes, my bathroom supplies. The framed photo of me and my college roommate. The plant I've kept alive for 4 years. Everything. I leave the furniture because it's not worth moving and it came with the room anyway. I leave the faded wallpaper and the broken closet door and the weird water stain on the ceiling that no one ever fixed. But I take everything that's mine. By the time my parents come home, my room is empty except for the bed and the dresser and the ghosts of who I used to be. I'm sitting in the living room when they walk in. Ryan is in the basement. I can hear the sounds of his video game through the floor. Sarah? What's going on? My mother is staring at the suitcases by the door. 2 large suitcases and a duffel bag. Everything I couldn't move in advance. I'm moving out. Silence. Complete, ringing silence. My father sets down his briefcase slowly. What do you mean you're moving out? I mean I found an apartment and I'm leaving. Today. Today? What are you talking about? You can't just move out today. I can, actually. My lease started yesterday. I've been moving my things all week. This is the last of it. My mother's face is doing that crumple and harden thing again, but more intensely. Why would you do this? Why wouldn't you talk to us first? Because talking to you would have turned into you talking me out of it. And I didn't want to be talked out of it. So you just decided to sneak around and lie to us? I didn't lie. I just didn't volunteer information. There's a difference. My father sits down heavily on the couch. He suddenly looks much older than his 61 years. Sarah, I don't understand. Are you unhappy here? Did something happen? Nothing happened. Everything happened. It's been happening for years and none of you noticed. What are you talking about? And this is where I could be kind. Where I could soften it, make it easier, leave without burning bridges. But I'm so tired of being kind. I'm talking about the fact that I'm 29 years old and I've spent the last 10 years being the only functional adult in this house besides Dad. I'm talking about cooking every meal and cleaning every mess and subsidizing a grown man's life while working full-time and barely surviving. I'm talking about being treated like I'm selfish when I don't want to cover Ryan's car insurance. I'm talking about being invisible until someone needs something. That's not fair, my mother says, and her voice is shaking. We don't treat you like that. Don't you? When's the last time you asked me how I was doing? And actually listened to the answer? When's the last time you thanked me for anything? When's the last time you considered what I need instead of what Ryan needs? Ryan is struggling. Ryan is a 32-year-old man who has never had to struggle because everyone around him makes sure he doesn't have to. And I'm done being part of that system. My father clears his throat. Sarah, I understand you're frustrated. But leaving like this, without discussion, without planning, this isn't like you. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe the person you think I am is just who I had to be to survive in this family. What does that mean? It means I've spent my entire adult life being who you needed me to be. The responsible one. The strong one. The one who doesn't need help. And I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted and I'm broke and I'm lonely and I'm done. My mother is crying now. Real tears, not manipulation tears. We love you, Sarah. We don't want you to leave. You love what I do for you. That's not the same as loving me. That's a horrible thing to say. It's a true thing to say. That's when Ryan appears at the top of the basement stairs. His hair is greasy and he's wearing the same clothes I saw him in 3 days ago, and he's looking at the suitcases with confusion. What's going on? Sarah's leaving, my mother says, her voice breaking. She's moving out. Ryan looks at me. Really looks at me for the first time in probably a year. Why? Because I can't do this anymore. Do what? This. All of this. Taking care of everyone. Being responsible for everyone. Being the only one who holds anything together. He stares at me blankly. I don't understand. I know you don't. That's part of the problem. What does me have to do with you leaving? And that question, delivered with such genuine confusion, is somehow the most damning thing he could have said. Because he truly doesn't see it. Doesn't see that his entire lifestyle is subsidized by my labor. Doesn't see that the clean house and the full refrigerator and the functioning household happens because I make it happen. He's never had to see it. Everything, I say quietly. It has everything to do with you. I stand up and grab my suitcases. My mother moves like she's going to physically block the door and I tense, ready for a real confrontation. But my father puts a hand on her arm and she stops, just stands there crying. You can't just leave, she says again, like repetition will change reality. What about your brother? What about this family? And I say the thing I should have said years ago. What about me? Then I walk out. My mother grabs my arm in the doorway, hard enough to leave marks. You can't just leave, she hisses. What about your brother? What about this family? I look at her fingers digging into my skin, then at my father sitting motionless on the couch, then at Ryan standing on the stairs looking confused and irritated like I'm disrupting his evening. Watch me, I say, and I pull my arm free. I load my suitcases into my car. My hands are shaking so badly I can barely get the key in the ignition. Behind me, I can see my mother standing in the doorway, my father beside her now, both of them watching me leave. Ryan has already gone back to the basement. I drive to my new apartment and carry my suitcases up 3 flights of stairs because there's no elevator. I unlock the door to my tiny studio with its old carpet and weird bathroom smell, and I stand in the middle of the empty space and I burst into tears. Not sad tears. Not exactly. Relief tears. Terror tears. Freedom tears. I cry for 20 minutes and then I order pizza and I eat it sitting on the floor and I fall asleep on an air mattress and I wake up the next morning in my own space for the first time in my adult life. It's terrifying. It's incredible. It's mine. The first few days are quiet. Too quiet. I'm used to the constant noise of other people. The television always on. My mother's phone conversations. Ryan's video games bleeding through the floor. Now there's just silence. I can hear my neighbors through the thin walls. A baby crying. A couple arguing. Someone playing music. But it's not my problem. Not my noise to manage or clean up after or navigate around. I buy a cheap bed frame from IKEA and spend 4 hours assembling it incorrectly twice before getting it right. I buy sheets and towels and dishes and all the basic things I need to set up a household. Everything is from Target or the dollar store because I'm broke, but it's all mine. I don't hear from my family for 5 days. I assume they're angry. Hurt. Probably talking about me constantly, about how selfish I am, how ungrateful, how cruel to just leave like that without warning. I'm okay with that. Or I'm trying to be okay with that. The silence is harder than I expected. I keep picking up my phone to call my mom and then remembering that I left. That I chose this. That going back now would undermine everything. On day 6, my mother calls. I stare at her name on the screen for 3 rings before answering. Hello? Sarah. Her voice is tight. Controlled. We need to talk about the house. Not how are you? Not we miss you. Not are you okay? The house. What about it? Things are falling apart. The kitchen sink is clogged. There's no food in the refrigerator. The trash hasn't been taken out in a week. Your father is working late every night and I have to cover extra shifts at the shop because we need the money and Ryan can't be expected to handle everything on his own. I'm silent for a long moment, processing this. Ryan is 32 years old. He can figure out how to unclog a sink and buy groceries. You know he's not good at that kind of thing. He's not good at it because he's never had to be good at it. Sarah, please. Can you just come by this weekend? Help us get organized? We're drowning here. No. No? No. I left because I was drowning, Mom. Because I was doing everything and getting nothing. I'm not coming back to rescue you from the consequences of enabling Ryan for 32 years. So you're just going to abandon your family? I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm just not managing everyone's life anymore. There's a difference. Your brother needs help. Your brother needs to grow up. And he never will as long as someone is always there to do it for him. She's crying now. I can hear it in her voice. I don't understand how you became so cold. I'm not cold. I'm boundaried. You just can't tell the difference because you've never had to respect my boundaries before. She hangs up without saying goodbye. I sit on my cheap IKEA bed in my tiny apartment and I feel guilty. Of course I feel guilty. That's what I've been trained to feel whenever I prioritize myself. But I don't call back. 2 weeks pass. My mother calls 3 more times. I don't answer. She leaves voicemails that progressively get more desperate. Sarah, please call me back. We really need to talk. Sarah, your father is very upset. This is hurting the whole family. Sarah, I don't understand what we did that was so wrong that you'd cut us off like this. That last one almost gets me. Almost makes me call back and apologize and offer to help. Because that's my role. That's who I've always been. But I don't. Instead, I block out the guilt and I focus on building my own life. I buy plants and keep them alive. I cook meals for one and enjoy them. I come home to a clean apartment because I'm the only one who lives here and I clean up after myself. I'm lonely sometimes. I'm definitely broke. The apartment really does have a weird smell in the bathroom that hasn't gone away. But I'm also lighter. Freer. More myself than I've been in a decade. On week 3, my father calls. He never calls. That's not his style. He's the silent type, the conflict avoider, the one who lets my mother handle emotional labor. So when I see his name on my phone, I know something is wrong. Dad? Sarah. His voice is strained. Tired. We need your help. With what? With everything. Your mother is falling apart. The house is a disaster. Ryan he's not handling this well. Handling what? Me not being there to take care of him? That's not fair. Isn't it? What exactly is Ryan not handling? Being an adult? Having responsibilities? Doing his own laundry? My father is quiet for a long moment. He's been having panic attacks. Your mother found him on the bathroom floor yesterday, hyperventilating. He says everything is too much. I feel a pang of sympathy, which immediately makes me angry at myself. Dad, Ryan has been coddled his entire adult life. The second he has to function independently, he has a panic attack. That's not my problem to fix. He's your brother. And I'm your daughter. But somehow my mental health, my stress, my panic attacks, because yes, I had those too, I just had them quietly in my room where no one had to deal with them, those never mattered enough to change anything. That's not true. Yes, it is. It's absolutely true. Ryan's feelings are a family emergency. Mine are an inconvenience. Sarah. He sounds so tired. So defeated. I don't know what to do. Your mother is crying every day. Ryan won't leave his room. The house is falling apart. I'm trying to hold everything together, but I can't do it alone. Now you know how I felt for the last 10 years. Silence. Please, he says finally. Just come for dinner. This Sunday. Let's talk about this like a family. We're not a family, Dad. We're a dysfunction distribution system where I did all the work and everyone else reaped the benefits. I'm not coming back to that. One dinner. That's all I'm asking. And because he's my father, because he's never asked me for anything directly like this, because some broken part of me still wants their approval, I say yes. I regret it immediately. But it's too late. I've committed. Sunday comes too quickly. I drive to the house I grew up in, the house I left 4 weeks ago, and I'm shocked by how different it looks. The lawn hasn't been mowed. There are weeds growing through the cracks in the driveway. The trash cans are overflowing. One of the shutters is hanging at an angle. It's only been 4 weeks. I sit in my car for 5 minutes, gathering courage, before walking to the door. My mother answers before I can knock. She looks terrible. Her hair is unwashed. She's wearing sweatpants and an old t-shirt. Her eyes are red and swollen. Sarah. She says my name like a prayer and a curse at the same time. Hi, Mom. She steps back to let me in and the smell hits me immediately. Old garbage. Dirty dishes. Something rotting. The living room is a disaster. Empty food containers on every surface. Dirty clothes draped over furniture. Dishes stacked on the coffee table. The carpet has visible stains. Jesus, I say before I can stop myself. We've been struggling, my mother says defensively. It's been 4 weeks. 4 weeks without help. Without you doing everything. I don't know if she means it as an accusation or an admission. Maybe both. My father emerges from his office. He looks better than my mother but not by much. His shirt is wrinkled. He hasn't shaved in days. Sarah. Thank you for coming. Where's Ryan? In his room. He's not doing well. What does that mean? My mother and father exchange a look. That look. The one that means they're about to tell me something they know I won't like and they're preparing for my reaction. He lost his car, my father says finally. What? His car was repossessed. He didn't pay his insurance, so when he got pulled over for a broken taillight, they impounded it. And he couldn't afford to get it out. So they repossessed it. I should feel vindicated. I predicted this exactly. I said this would happen. Instead, I just feel tired. Okay. So he lost his car. He should get a job and buy a new one. He can't get a job without a car, my mother says. He can get a job that's on a bus line. Or he can bike. Or he can get a remote job. There are options, Mom. You don't understand how hard this is for him. You're right. I don't understand. Because when I had problems, I figured them out. I didn't have a team of people solving everything for me. That's because you're stronger than he is. And there it is again. The thing they've been saying my entire life. I'm stronger. Which means I don't need help. Which means I don't deserve help. Which means my suffering doesn't count. I'm not stronger, Mom. I'm just used to being abandoned. She flinches like I've slapped her. That's a cruel thing to say. It's a true thing to say. My father steps between us, literally physically places himself between me and my mother like he's preventing a fight. Let's not do this. Let's just have dinner and talk calmly. There's no dinner, my mother says quietly. I didn't have time to cook. The significance of this hangs in the air. My mother, who has spent 30 years cooking elaborate Sunday dinners, who prides herself on her hosting, who defines her worth by her ability to feed people, didn't cook. Because I wasn't there to help. We can order pizza, my father suggests. So we order pizza. We sit in the disaster of a living room and eat pizza off paper plates because all the real plates are dirty. And my parents tell me about the collapse. How the first week without me, they thought they'd be fine. It was just cleaning and cooking, how hard could it be? But my mother worked and was too tired to cook when she got home. My father didn't know how to grocery shop, came home with random ingredients that didn't make meals. Ryan refused to help with anything, said he was too depressed. The second week, things got worse. Bills weren't paid on time because I had been the one who kept track of due dates. The car registration expired because I had been the one who remembered that kind of thing. The sink clogged and no one knew how to fix it. The third week, they started fighting. My mother blamed my father for not helping more. My father blamed my mother for enabling Ryan. Ryan had a panic attack and locked himself in his room for 2 days. The fourth week, everything fell apart. We didn't realize, my father says quietly, how much you were doing. How much you were holding together. I told you, I say. Multiple times, mother's face crumples. Sarah, please. We can't do this without you. You're going to have to learn. What about Ryan? He needs you. Ryan needs therapy and consequences. Not a sister who enables his dysfunction. You're so cold now, my mother says, and she's crying. I don't recognize you. I'm the same person I've always been. You just never bothered to actually see me. That's not true. When's my birthday, Mom? She blinks. What? When's my birthday? What's my favorite color? What do I do for work, specifically? What are my hobbies? What am I afraid of? What makes me happy? She's silent. You don't know, do you? Because you never asked. You never cared enough to ask. That's not fair, my father says. We care about you. You care about what I can do for you. That's not the same thing. I stand up. This was a mistake. I shouldn't have come. Where are you going? My mother asks desperately. Home. To my home. This is your home. No, Mom. This is your house. It was never my home. Home is supposed to be where you're valued. Where you're seen. Where you matter. And I never mattered here. I was just useful. Sarah, wait, my father says. Let's talk about this rationally. What would it take for you to come back? We can make changes. We can do better. Can you? Can you really? Because from where I'm standing, nothing has changed except that you've realized how much work I was doing. You're not sorry you took me for granted. You're just sorry you have to do things yourselves now. What do you want from us? My mother asks. An apology? Fine. I'm sorry. We're sorry. Is that enough? No. Because you're not sorry for hurting me. You're sorry you're inconvenienced. She opens her mouth to argue, but I can see in her eyes that I'm right. I'm leaving now, I say. Don't call me unless it's an actual emergency. And Ryan losing his car because he refused to pay for insurance doesn't count as an emergency. What counts as an emergency? My father asks. Hospital. Police. Fire. That's it. I walk toward the door. My mother follows me. Please don't go, she says. We need you. Then you should have treated me like you needed me while I was here. I leave. This time, no one grabs my arm. No one blocks the door. They just let me go. I cry the whole drive back to my apartment. Not because I'm sad. Because I'm grieving. Grieving the family I wanted. The family I thought I had. The family that never actually existed. When I get home, I block my mother's number. I keep my father's unblocked in case of actual emergencies, but I send him a text. I'm not coming back. Don't ask again. If you want a relationship with me, it has to be a real one. Not one where I'm just the help. He doesn't respond. If you're watching this and you've ever been the family scapegoat, the one who did everything and got nothing, the one who was strong until you broke, leave a comment. Tell me where you're watching from. Because I need to know I'm not alone in this. That walking away from dysfunction isn't selfish. It's survival. And subscribe for more stories like this. Real stories about family, boundaries, and what happens when the person everyone relied on decides to rely on themselves instead. Hit that like button if you've ever been called selfish for having boundaries. If you understand what it's like to be invisible until someone needs something. Because your story matters too. The next 2 weeks are quiet. No calls, no texts, no contact. I settle deeper into my new life. I make friends with my neighbor, a woman named Grace who's in her 60s and lives alone with 3 cats. She invites me over for tea and doesn't ask why I'm living by myself in a tiny studio at 29. She just accepts me. I start therapy. Not because I think there's something wrong with me, but because my insurance covers it and I need someone objective to talk to. Someone who won't have an agenda beyond my well-being. My therapist's name is Dr. Martinez. She's in her 40s, has an office full of plants, and in our first session she says, "Tell me about your family." I laugh. We're going to need more than 50 minutes for that. But I tell her. All of it. Growing up as the responsible one. Ryan's endless failures that were always excused. My parents' emotional neglect disguised as trust in my capability. The years of resentment building. The final straw. The escape. She listens without judgment. When I finish, she says, "It sounds like you were parentified." What does that mean? It means your parents put you in a parental role. Made you responsible for things that weren't your responsibility. It's a form of emotional abuse. The word abuse shocks me. I wasn't abused. They didn't hit me or anything. Abuse isn't just physical. Emotional neglect is abuse. Putting adult responsibilities on a child is abuse. Making you feel guilty for having needs is abuse. I sit with that for a long moment. So what do I do? You're already doing it. You set boundaries. You removed yourself from a harmful situation. Now you learn how to live without the guilt they trained you to feel. Is that possible? It's hard. But yes, it's possible. I leave that session feeling validated and terrified in equal measure. Because if my family was abusive, even unintentionally, then what does that mean about everything I believed about them? About myself? Week 6. My father calls. I almost don't answer, but I remember my rule. Emergencies only. What's wrong? Ryan is in the hospital. My heart stops. What happened? He tried to kill himself. The world tilts. Everything I've been feeling, the anger, the resentment, the relief at being free, gets immediately buried under an avalanche of guilt. Is he okay? He's alive. He took a bunch of pills, but your mother found him in time. They pumped his stomach. He's stable now, but they're keeping him for observation. What hospital? Mercy General. But Sarah, before you come, you need to know something. What? He left a note. He blamed you. He said you abandoning the family made him realize he had nothing to live for. The guilt avalanche turns into an earthquake. That's not fair, I whisper. I know. I told him that. But he's not in a rational place right now. I didn't abandon him. I set boundaries. I know that too. But Sarah, whether it's fair or not, your brother almost died. And he's saying it's because of you. So if you come here, you need to be prepared for that. I'm silent, processing. I'm not coming, I say finally. What? I'm not coming to the hospital. I'm not going to be manipulated into coming back because Ryan had a mental health crisis. Sarah, he tried to kill himself. And that's horrible. Truly horrible. But it's not my fault and it's not my responsibility to fix. He's your brother. And he's a 32-year-old man who needs professional help. Not a scapegoat to blame for his problems. My father is quiet for a long time. I can't believe you're being this cold. I'm not being cold. I'm being boundaried. And if you can't tell the difference, that's part of the problem. I hang up. Then I call my therapist and leave an emergency voicemail. She calls me back within an hour. My brother tried to kill himself and blamed me in his suicide note, I say without preamble. I'm so sorry. That must be incredibly painful. Everyone expects me to go to the hospital. To go back. To fix this. What do you want to do? I don't know. Part of me feels like I should go. Like if I don't, that proves I'm as selfish as they say. But part of me knows that if I go back now, nothing will change. I'll just be pulled back into the dysfunction. Both of those things can be true. You can care about your brother and still maintain your boundaries. Can I though? Because it feels like everyone is saying I have to choose. You don't have to choose. You can have compassion for his suffering and still recognize that you're not responsible for it. What if he tries again? What if he succeeds next time and I could have prevented it by being there? Sarah, listen to me very carefully. You are not responsible for keeping another adult alive. That's not your job. That's not your burden to carry. Then why does it feel like it is? Because your family has spent your entire life making you feel responsible for their well-being. Breaking that pattern is hard. But it's necessary. We talk for 45 minutes. By the end, I'm calmer. Clearer. I'm not going to the hospital. But I'm going to send a message. I text my father, I hope Ryan gets the professional help he needs. I'm not coming to the hospital because my presence won't help his recovery. He needs therapy, not an enabler. I care about him, but I can't sacrifice myself to save him. That's not how healing works. He doesn't respond. I hear through the grapevine, a mutual cousin who I'm still in contact with, that Ryan is released from the hospital after 72 hours. He's put on antidepressants and referred to outpatient therapy. My parents hire a therapist to come to the house because Ryan won't leave his room. The family narrative, according to my cousin, is that I'm heartless. That I abandoned my brother in his darkest hour. That I value my independence more than my family. I try not to let it hurt. I mostly fail. But I don't go back. Week 8. I come home from work to find my mother sitting outside my apartment building. She looks even worse than she did at the dinner. She's lost weight. Her hair is gray at the roots. She's aged 10 years in 2 months. Mom. What are you doing here? We need to talk. How did you even know where I live? I followed you from work last week. I've been here 3 times but you're never home. That should creep me out more than it does. Instead I just feel tired. You need to leave. Please. Just 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I unlocked the building door and let her follow me upstairs. Inside my apartment, she looks around at my tiny space with poorly disguised judgment. This is where you're living? Yes. It's so small. It's mine. She sits on my cheap couch without being invited. Ryan is getting worse. I heard he's in therapy. He won't engage with it. He just sits in his room and cries. The therapist says he's severely depressed. Maybe has been for years. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you? Because you don't seem sorry. You seem fine. I'm not fine, Mom. I'm in therapy dealing with years of emotional neglect. But I'm also not drowning anymore, so comparatively, yes, I'm better. Emotional neglect? Sarah, we gave you everything. You gave me a roof and food and clothes. You didn't give me emotional support or validation or the space to be anything other than useful. That's not true. When did you last tell me you were proud of me? Before I left, I mean. She's silent. When did you last ask about my life? My feelings? My dreams? More silence. When did you ever treat me like I mattered as much as Ryan? We treated you differently because you didn't need the same level of support. Everyone needs support, Mom. I just learned not to ask for it because asking was pointless. She's crying now. I don't understand what we did wrong. We loved you. We provided for you. We gave you stability. You gave me responsibility without authority. Expectations without appreciation. You made me feel like love was conditional on my usefulness. And now that I'm not useful anymore, you don't know how to relate to me. That's not fair. It's completely fair. She wipes her eyes with the back of her hand. Ryan needs you. Ryan needs therapy and medication and to take responsibility for his own life. He tried to kill himself, Sarah. Our son, your brother, tried to die. And you won't even visit him. Because visiting him would send the message that his suicide attempt was an effective way to manipulate me into coming back. And I won't do that to him or to myself. So you're just going to let him suffer? I'm going to let him experience the natural consequences of his choices. Which includes getting professional help instead of relying on family to manage his mental health. You've become so hard. I've become boundaried. You just can't tell the difference because you've never had to respect my boundaries before. She stands up abruptly. I came here hoping to find my daughter. The sweet girl who cared about her family. But that person is gone. That person never existed, Mom. That was just a role I played because it was the only way to get any form of love from you. I don't know who you are anymore. Neither do I. But I'm trying to figure it out. She leaves without saying goodbye. I sit on my couch in my tiny apartment and I don't cry. I'm all cried out. Instead, I call my therapist and leave another message. We're going to need to talk about this. Week 10. My cousin calls. Sarah, I need to tell you something. Your family is telling everyone you abandoned them. They're painting you as the selfish villain who left her disabled brother to suffer. Ryan's not disabled. I know that. But that's how they're framing it. And people are believing them. Let them. You're okay with everyone thinking you're a terrible person? I'm okay with knowing the truth. People who actually know me will understand. People who don't, their opinion doesn't matter. That's very evolved of you. It's very therapized of me. There's a difference. She laughs. How are you really doing? Honestly? Better. Lonely sometimes. Guilty a lot. But also lighter. Freer. More like myself. Good. You deserve that. Thanks for checking in. Always. And Sarah? For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing. Your family was using you. Someone had to break the cycle. After we hang up, I think about cycles. About how dysfunction gets passed down through generations. About how someone has to be brave enough or broken enough to say, not me, not anymore. I guess I'm that someone. Week 12. 3 months since I left. My apartment doesn't smell weird anymore. I've made friends with 3 of my neighbors. I got a small raise at work. I'm sleeping better than I have in years. I'm also still in therapy twice a week, still dealing with the guilt, still learning how to exist without the weight of other people's expectations. It's hard. Some days are really hard. But I'm doing it. My father calls. His first call since the hospital incident. Sarah. Dad. I need to tell you something. And I need you to just listen without interrupting. Okay. He takes a deep breath. You were right. Silence. About Ryan. About your mother. About all of it. You were right and we were wrong. I don't know what to say. Ryan's therapist finally got through to him. Made him see that his depression isn't because of you leaving. It's because he spent his entire adult life avoiding responsibility, and that avoidance has prevented him from developing any sense of purpose or self-worth. Oh. He's agreed to go to an intensive outpatient program. 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. And he's looking for jobs. Actually looking, not just pretending. That's good. Your mother and I are in therapy too. Couples therapy. We're working on our enabling patterns. On our marriage. On understanding what we did to you. Okay. I'm not calling to ask you to come back. I'm calling to apologize. Really apologize. Not the kind where we're sorry we're inconvenienced. The kind where we're sorry we hurt you. I feel tears starting. We took you for granted, he continues. We made you responsible for things that weren't your job. We valued your usefulness more than your well-being. And we didn't see it until you were gone and everything fell apart. Why didn't you see it while I was there? I told you how I felt. Because it was easier not to. Because acknowledging it would have meant having to change. And change is hard. It's hard for me too, Dad. But I'm doing it anyway. I know. And I'm proud of you for that. I should have said that years ago. Now I'm really crying. I don't expect you to forgive us, he says. I don't expect you to come back. I just want you to know that we see it now. We see what we did. And we're sorry. Thank you, I whisper. Can I ask you something? Yeah. Are you happy? In your new life? I think about it. Really think about it. I'm getting there. It's hard and lonely sometimes. But I'm also free in a way I've never been. So, yeah. I think I'm heading toward happy. Good. You deserve that. We talk for a few more minutes. He tells me about the changes they're making. How they've hired a cleaning service. How they're making Ryan pay rent, even if it's just a small amount. How my mother is learning to cook simple meals instead of elaborate ones. How they're all learning to function independently instead of relying on me. It's progress. Real progress. But it doesn't erase the past. When we hang up, I sit with the conversation for a long time. Part of me wants to forgive them immediately. To go back. To rebuild. But the wiser part of me knows that reconciliation takes time. That trust, once broken, needs to be rebuilt slowly. That I need to make sure the changes are real and lasting, not just performative. So I don't go back. But I don't cut them off completely either. I agree to have lunch with my father once a month. Just the two of us. No Ryan, no my mother. Just a chance to slowly rebuild a relationship. I tell my mother she can call once a week. Sunday evenings. For 30 minutes. And if she spends that time trying to guilt me or manipulate me, I'll hang up. I tell Ryan I'm proud of him for getting help. But I'm not ready for a relationship with him yet. Maybe someday. But not yet. They all agree to my terms. And slowly, carefully, we start to build something new. It's not the family I grew up with. It's not the family I wanted as a kid. But it might be something healthier. Something real. Or it might fall apart completely. I don't know yet. What I do know is that I'm okay either way. Because I've learned something crucial over these past 3 months. I don't need them to survive. I can love them and still protect myself. I can hope for reconciliation and still maintain boundaries. I can be strong and still need support. I can be the responsible one without being the only one. And most importantly, I can choose myself without being selfish. That's the real ending. Not a dramatic confrontation. Not a tearful reunion. Just slow, steady progress towards something better. 6 months after I left, Ryan gets his first real job. It's entry-level retail, nothing glamorous, but he shows up on time and does the work. My mother learns to cook 3 simple meals and rotates them. It's not gourmet, but it's food. My father takes over the household finances and organization. He creates systems and schedules. The house isn't pristine, but it's functional. They're learning to live without me. And I'm learning to live without them. We have lunch once a month now. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's awkward. Sometimes old patterns emerge and I have to reinforce boundaries. But we're trying. All of us, in our own ways, are trying. Ryan apologizes to me 6 months in. We're at a coffee shop, neutral territory, and he says, I blamed you for leaving because it was easier than blaming myself for being pathetic. You're not pathetic. I was, though. I am. I'm 32 and I've never had a real job or paid my own bills or done anything meaningful. That's pathetic. It's a starting point. Not a destination. I'm sorry I tried to make you responsible for my life. For my happiness. For my mental health. That wasn't fair. No, it wasn't. Are we going to be okay? Eventually? I don't know. Maybe. But it's going to take time. I can do time. I'm good at waiting. I laugh despite myself. That's one way to put it. It's not forgiveness. Not yet. But it's something. A year after I left, I get promoted at work. I'm now making enough to afford a 1-bedroom apartment. I move out of the studio with the weird bathroom smell and into a place with an actual bedroom and a kitchen that's separate from the living room. I invite my parents over for dinner. I cook. We eat at my table in my space and they compliment the food and the apartment and they don't ask me to come home. Because this is home now. My mother cries a little when she leaves. I'm proud of you, she says. I should have said that more. Yeah, you should have. I'm saying it now. Better late than never? Better late than never. 18 months after I left, Ryan moves out. He gets an apartment with a roommate. It's not much, but it's his. He texts me a picture of his empty bedroom on moving day. Leaving the nest at 33. Better late than never? I send back a thumbs up and a smiley face. Progress. 2 years after I left, I'm sitting in my therapist's office and she asks, do you still feel guilty about leaving? I think about it. Sometimes. But mostly I feel grateful. Grateful? That I was brave enough to go. That I valued myself enough to leave. That I believed I deserved better even when no one else did. That's tremendous growth. It doesn't feel tremendous. It feels like survival. Sometimes they're the same thing. I think about my family now. About the slow, painful progress we've all made. About how leaving broke everything and forced everyone to rebuild. About how sometimes you have to burn it all down to build something better. They still don't fully understand what they did to me. They still sometimes slip into old patterns. They still occasionally suggest I'm being too sensitive or too rigid with my boundaries. But they're trying. And I'm trying. And we're all slowly becoming more honest versions of ourselves. My brother has a job and pays his own bills. He still struggles with depression, but he manages it with therapy and medication instead of avoidance and enabling. My mother has learned to exist without controlling everyone around her. She's still not great at boundaries, but she's learning. My father has learned to engage instead of avoid. He's still not comfortable with conflict, but he doesn't run from it anymore. And me? I've learned that I'm enough. That my worth isn't tied to my usefulness. That I can be loved for who I am, not what I do. That choosing myself isn't selfish. It's necessary. Before I end this, I want to say something to anyone watching who's in a similar situation. Anyone who's the family workhorse. The one everyone relies on. The one who's strong until they break. You're allowed to leave. You're allowed to set boundaries. You're allowed to choose yourself. And when people call you selfish for it, that says more about them than it does about you. Your family might fall apart when you leave. They might struggle. They might suffer. That's not your fault. That's not your responsibility to prevent. Sometimes people need to hit bottom before they can learn to stand on their own. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let them fall. It will hurt. You will feel guilty. People will judge you. But you will also be free. And freedom, real freedom, is worth fighting for. So if you're the person holding everything together, if you're exhausted and invisible and taken for granted, if you're considering leaving but you're scared of what will happen, leave anyway. Your family will survive. And so will you. Maybe even better than before. Comment below if this story resonated with you. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me if you've ever been the responsible one who everyone relied on until you couldn't do it anymore. Hit that subscribe button for more stories like this. Real stories about family dysfunction, setting boundaries, and what happens when the person everyone took for granted decides they're done being taken for granted. Hit that like button if you understand what it's like to be strong until you break. If you've ever been called selfish for having boundaries. If you know what it feels like to choose yourself for the first time. Because your story matters. My brother lived rent-free for years. The day I left, everything fell apart. But everything also got better. Not immediately. Not easily. Not perfectly. But better. And that's enough. That has to be enough. Because I chose myself. I chose my mental health over their comfort. I chose my future over their dysfunction. And I would do it. Again. Every single time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for understanding that sometimes walking away is the bravest thing you can do. Now go choose yourself. You deserve it.